the issue of internship, and because of lack of a legal framework and because of unemployment amongst the young people, actually has been used to exploit young people who are qualified. And therefore, even the opportunities for taking part in internship has not been anywhere regulated. There has been no equity. So this bill then brings in some legal framework. There has been some legal framework in relation to professional regulatory authorities, but it has been limited. And even that has now been confused with the general internship, and that was the crux of the matter in the recent doctor strike. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support this bill because it actually addresses very important issues in this matter. One is the definition of an intern. It actually takes a fairly good definition of an intern, and it brings out that you can actually have three people who are doing internship: those who are doing it during their training, and those who have actually finished their training, and those who actually require it as for registration in professional bodies. And so those must be taken into consideration, because that's where the problem is. Because you have some people also, even earlier than that, who, as part of their training, need some exposure to industry before they do the final examinations and therefore subsequent graduation. Those are also internship. So this bill has actually attempted to do that. If you look at clause 3, that has been taken care of. Again, it is the objective of the internship. Why are we putting young people through internship? Colleagues have actually indicated whether we want them to learn, we want them as part of our workforce, we want them because they need to be trained. If those have also been actually taken care of in this bill, if you look at clause 3. The other important thing is the period and structure of training. Madam Speaker, there's been an attempt in the definition between 3 months and 1 year. But I think we will have to look at, particularly in cases of professional requirements, they will have to be involved to determine how long the period should be and what is the structure of training. Because if you have bodies like the Medical Practitioner Dentist Council, the Engineers Institute, the Board of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, BORACs, the Law Society of Kenya, and this Council for Legal Education, those bodies will require very clear time periods. They will require clear structures of training and clear structures of mentorship. For example, in the medical profession, the interns actually have to do specific, undertake specific activities which they must exhibit competence in during that period. I think even in engineering, I think that is required, so that you actually have structured ways, you have logbooks that are actually in place that they have to fill to show that they have actually undertaken that. And therefore, the other issue that has come is the relationship that is important, is the relationship of the internship, of interns during this period. Madam Speaker, this is extremely important, and this is what has actually led to a lot of exploitation. When you have interns for exposure, they supernumerary, which means they actually are not part of the workforce, and therefore what they do.
Honorable Dr. Nyikal, I don't know whether it is the phone which is your phone which is interfering with the microphone, or it is someone else's phone.
Maybe it's okay. So, Madam Speaker, the responsibility of an intern, the assignment that they are given during the period, are they supernumerary, which means there are people who are actually doing the job and the intern is tagging along with them so that they get the exposure? or the intern is actually in a schedule of work in the roster, so that what they do is actually part of the work and part of the schedule for the day's work and part of the load that the institution does on daily basis. If that is the case, then you will realize that is extremely different category. And that is actually where the medical doctor interns are, because they are actually part of the workforce, so they have a responsibility. They look after patients. They are in the wards. They undertake surgeries where they are competently, and so that they are actually working. And if they were in the private sector, they would actually be earning income for the institutions where they are working. And that also, another important issue that comes with that is the legal responsibility. If, like in the professional areas, they are undertaking these activities, like in the medical profession, if they're actually looking after people, they're actually doing surgeries, do they have a legal responsibility? If something goes wrong, now who takes responsibility? At least in the legal profession, in the medical profession, I know they have a registration, an interim registration, which makes sure that they are registered, and they even have insurance, which if anything goes wrong, the people who are involved are covered. And these are extremely important. And Madam Speaker, it's also important when you have the intern, what is their position in the structure of the organization? Are they just another person in the organization? Are there clearly stated responsibilities that they have? I can tell you the medical, the intern doctors are part of any working hospital where you have the intern as the first on call, the medical officer as the second on call, and the consultant as the third on call. So that in a structured institution, if they are not there, then the institution is not working. That is a completely different situation where there are people who are working as supernumerary, who are working, tagging along with others. Again, those, we have to have a structure. And I've noted in the bill that there have been attempts to do this, like in clause 2, even the role of the supervisor and the mentor has actually been stated. So that is extremely important. And the third thing, the fourth thing, Madam Speaker, is remuneration. That will depend what is their role. If they are part of the structure of the organization, if they are part of the structure of the workforce, if they are given responsibility. And Madam Speaker, can I tell you from my personal experience, as an intern, one weekend, I worked from Friday morning up to Sunday evening with very little time for sleep, even for meals, and actually taking care of several wards at the same time. Now, you will not say that that is supernumerary. And so when, as people it's been indicated, during the strike, the interns were asking for 206,000. This is somebody who is working. So that is that, as opposed to people who are on supernumerary. So that I am happy has been taken care of here. Madam Speaker, it's also important that when we have them and they're working in industry, how does it relate to the law, the labor laws? What are they entitled to? Look at the issue of the JSS teachers. They were there, they were called interns, but these are teachers who are qualified, teachers who have TSC registrations, but then we called them interns. Now, were they subject to the labor laws? Now we are dismissing them. What is protecting them? So these are areas that we must look at. And finally, Madam Speaker, unless we have this law in place, and I beg my colleagues that we pass it, even with amendments, there will be a great danger of exploitation. This is for the public service, but it must also give guidelines, and we may need another law to take care of internship in the private sector. With that,
thank you very much, Dr. Nyikal. The Honorable Johanna Ngeno, member for Emurua Dikiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.